This episode of Simple Civics, Greenville County is made possible by Beth and Mike Andrews, Kelly Byers and Tom Wagner, Elizabeth and Grant Bogus. We thank them for their support and for connecting you, our listeners, with candidates so you'll be informed voters this primary season. You can give to Simple Civics too. Just visit our website at simplecivicgreenvillecounty.org. On Tuesday, June 9th, South Carolina holds its statewide primary elections. I'm Katie Smith with Greater Good Greenville, and over the next several weeks, we are pleased to bring you interviews with most of the candidates in contested races that are in Greenville County. Today, we feature candidates for the Democratic primary for United States Congress District 3, which includes southern Greenville County, as well as counties to the west and south, Abbeville, Anderson, Edgefield, Greenwood, Lawrence, McCormick, Oconee, Pickens, and Saluda, along with a portion of Newberry County. Whichever candidate wins the Democratic primary in June will face candidates from other parties on the ballot in the general election in November. But first, a quick primer on why primaries are so important. The statewide primaries are when political parties choose their candidates to be on the ballot in the general election on November 3rd. This primary on June 9th will be for important offices like State House of Representatives, Governor, State Superintendent of Education, Congress, and one of our U.S. Senate seats, and our Greenville County Council. Some of these primary races will determine the winner in November because no one from a different party has filed to run, meaning that practically speaking, the June 9th primary is the election. In South Carolina, we don't register to vote by party, and all primaries are open, meaning you're free to vote in either the Republican or Democratic primary ballot. Of course, there are other parties, but they don't have a primary in our state. We did an episode that explains how all this works, and we'll link it in the show notes for you. If you want to see which district you live in and who will be on your ballot, you can check out the links on the episode page for a sample ballot from the South Carolina Election Commission. All of the details on how these interviews worked are at the end of the episode and in the show notes. But in short, know that each candidate had the same 3 questions and 10 timed minutes to respond. To find links to each candidate's campaign information, please check the show notes. For this episode, you will hear from the Democratic primary candidates, Eunice Lehmacher and Ernest Mackins. Sherry Biggs, the incumbent, was the only Republican to file, and other party candidates are also uncontested. First up, alphabetically, is Eunice Lehmacher. I'm pleased to be joined by Eunice Lehmacher, candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, District 3 for the Democratic primary. Eunice, thanks so much for being here.
Great to be here, Katie. Thank you.
Tell us about yourself and why you're running for office.
I'm running to be your congresswoman, and I'm running because I care about everybody. When I was a child, I lived in the pastor's house, which was right next to the church, and people came and knocked on the door and asked my parents for help, my dad. So I need to pay for the utilities or I can't afford my rent. And you know what my parents did? They invited people in for dinner. So they sat down with us. Now, as a little kid, I can't say I was thrilled to share my mac and cheese. And I had to share the floor. You'll find out I like to talk. But I heard all those stories. And of course, my parents helped them with the utilities or whatever, too. And that wasn't something that happened once. It happened month after month, year after year. So my parents taught me the values of we all matter. And I took those values with me to my professions. I became a high school teacher. I used to teach math and physics in high school. I was a librarian. I was a church educator. And the last couple of decades, I've been a medical social worker, including I have owned my own private practice in Seneca. I worked for Prisma Health, both as a hospice grief counselor, employee assistance, home health. So I learned a lot about the needs of both students and patients. And I learned that it isn't that the students and patients aren't trying, and it isn't that we, the professionals, aren't trying. There's problems. The government is getting in our way. And that's why I decided to run for office, because I need to change the leadership so that people have access to health care, that they can afford things. The prices are so high right now. People are making decisions. Do I buy my medications for diabetes or do I buy food for my children? And so it wasn't enough to be a good social worker. I needed to change the leadership. And that's why I'm running for Congress.
Thank you. What do you believe are the biggest issues facing constituents?
Well, I already mentioned high prices. And of course, we're all seeing that right now. I mean, obviously, the price of gas probably caused by the war in Iran. But the price of housing, the price of healthcare, when I do my canvassing and phone banking to talk to voters, that's the thing that people tell me the most is they can't afford the prices. Access. So I've mentioned access to healthcare. My district is primarily rural, so there's not enough physicians, OBGYN providers in rural areas, for example. Hospitals have lost funding because of the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare. There's not enough doctors, but also the prices of utilities right now are going up year after year, and people cannot afford it. And I think that the priorities are also related to what people are seeing as waste. Right now, our government is spending money on detaining legal residents, on fighting a war, and not on Americans. Americans are suffering because of the high price of food and energy, and they aren't getting their access to things like having an affordable apartment or teachers. They get a new job. Let's say you're a single mother and they can't afford to pay the rent and live close to the school, so they're living really far out. The childcare, university costs, so high prices across the board. Right now, I'm hearing a lot of people complain about the access to voting and what's happening with gerrymandering and who's making decisions. Right now, it seems like billionaires who are funding some politicians are making decisions instead of the voters, and people are concerned about that.
Thank you. What would be your priorities if elected?
Well, just to follow up on what I said, I certainly want to lower prices. Energy, for example, I think we can lower the price of energy by changing back to when we subsidize solar, wind, and other renewables. We got rid of those, and I want to return those and increase them. I want to lower the price of healthcare by refunding Medicare, Medicaid, the ACA, having more doctors. I also want to take care of our future. So by putting those renewables in, we're going to make it easier for people to get energy, not just this generation, but in 7 generations. So cheaper and cleaner power. I want to work on housing, as I mentioned, making affordable housing available. And then I really want to listen to voters. I remember when we had town halls and you could go and talk to your representative. So I'm planning to have town halls every quarter. I'll go to the 11 different counties. I'm planning to take your calls if you call me and talk to people and be in places. I'm already a very active community volunteer. I do a lot of things in the community, been a neighborhood president, serve on various boards like the mental health board for the 3 counties in the upstate. And I'm listening to the needs of people, even the ones who don't make it to the town hall and how to meet those. And then the other thing I'm hearing actually from young people a lot is that politicians are calling each other's names. Like, I care about all of us, I care about our future, but I think our politicians and leaders today are sort of talking about he, whatever the president said, me, how can I make money off of this office? And there's a problem, who can I blame this on? I'm tired of the he, me, and they politics, and I want the we, us, and our politics. So that means that I'm going to talk to the people that I disagree with, the people who are maybe on the other side and form compromises. Can I give you an example of that? So I would like to see everybody have access to health care, but trying to get universal health care has been a challenge that people have been facing for decades, and it hasn't happened yet. So I want to start with a small piece. For example, what if we lowered Medicare eligibility to 64? Then people who are 64 could get health care. And I'm going to start by talking to the other senators and representatives who are 64, whose wives are 64, whose sisters are 64 and maybe have cancer, and talk with them and get them to sponsor a bill. So I think the 119th Congress has passed the least number of bills of any Congress. And so I think the way to pass bills into law that would help all of us is to make friends with the other side, like babysit their children, go out to dinner, find out who of their family members are sick or are traveling, and develop those relationships, and then find ways to create compromise and make changes, not just with healthcare, of course. I think we can make a future that's better for all of our grandchildren, and as I said, 7 generations in the future. I often mention that in Australia right now, in June, they're going to be getting 3 hours of free electricity every day because they have so much renewable energy. You may be aware in Texas, they have a lot of renewable energy, so much that they occasionally give it away. Well, this is a great problem to have, and we could have it in the United States too. So, part of what I plan to do as a priority is to make those friendships and talk about those things. I've noticed that the people on the other side are often doing this peer pressure thing. Well, what about them? The other states or the other countries. So, if I say, other countries have so much electricity, they don't know what to do with it, we could have that too to get them to see that we could make some change in renewable energy and taking care of our future. So my priority, I'm a psychotherapist by profession, so I talk to, for example, couples that are having arguments, that are considering divorce. That means I know how to talk to people who disagree, and I'm going to get to know the people that disagree with me and figure out ways to get the Congress to actually start making laws again. And if there are people in politics that are doing illegal things, such as our president, I want to impeach him and all the people that are doing the things that are breaking national and international law. But those that I just disagree with, I've got to learn to talk to.
Thank you. We have a little bit more time. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Thanks for asking that. I want to point out that you're going to be choosing someone in the primary on June 9th, and I hope that you'll choose the candidate who has already demonstrated that they care about more than just themselves, but they care about all of us. For example, my campaign has already, for months now, been recruiting volunteers. I have over 40, over 200 donors. We're phone banking, canvassing. I'm running out digital ads that you'll be seeing. So I have a track record, both in my community work and my profession, but also campaigning. So when you vote in the primaries, pick the candidate who's going to be able to beat the Republican who's running in November, not just the one who talks about your favorite issue. I ask you to look me up. My website is eunice4sc.com. That's EUNICEFORSC.com. You can find more about my policies. You can find a way to volunteer. You can find a way to get my information and pass it on to others, as well as many events that I'll be at during the next month and through November. We've already scheduled things for past June 9th. So I look forward to meeting all of you, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thanks, Katie.
Next up is Ernest Mackins. I'm pleased to be joined by Ernest Mackins, who is running for U.S. Congress District 3 in the Democratic primary. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Miss Katie Smith. I appreciate you.
Well, tell us about yourself and why you're running for this office.
Well, my name is Dr. Ernest E Mackins. I am a candidate for U.S. House District 3. I am a U.S. Army veteran. I am also the VFW Post 6089 Senior Vice Commander in Anderson, South Carolina. I am a retired educator with over 28 and a half years of service, teaching experience, and I have served in business for well over 15 years. Most importantly, though, for me, is I'm a family man with my wife, Erica, of 24 years. We have two sons, Adrian and Travis. And the reason that I'm running for this office is real simple. I'm running because I'm tired of seeing all the corruption across not just this state, but across this country. This campaign that we have put together is about putting people before politics and family before special interests. We need solutions that improve the quality of life, not only in South Carolina, but across the country. And that's what this campaign is about. And you need a man of integrity and a man of courage who's going to stand up and listen to what you have to say, but then he's going to go back to Washington, D.C. And like my students tell me, I'm going to stand on business. We're going to make sure we serve the people of South Carolina and also of the whole country, because we deserve people with moral character and leadership.
Thank you. What do you believe are the biggest issues facing constituents?
Well, when we look at what's going on right now, the biggest issues out there, all the candidates should be talking about this. Number one should be affordability. We have people who need to be able to live in society, and they simply cannot. If you go to try to fill up your car, and the cost of gas is off the roof. We need to find a way to lower the cost of living for all the people around us. That includes groceries, medication, and even renting and buying houses. People just cannot make it on the little bit amount of money that they're getting paid. So one of the things that if I was elected, part of the thing that I would do is raise the salary of those, not just basic employees, but employees across the board. We need to get away from that minimum wage of $7.25 and move it up to more like $15 an hour. Simple as that. And then the second thing that is a big thing that's facing our constituents right now, the people in not just in South Carolina, but across the country, is women's rights, civil rights, voting rights. All of these rights are under attack. We need to do something to stop that. And look at what just happened just recently, the gutting of the Voting Rights Act. When that happened, now you can see what's really going on. We have this all this stuff that's going on that should not be going on. You have all these areas that's being basically redistricted. And so now we got to find a way to make sure that all voices are heard in Congress, not just a select group of people. And then as far as voting rights, we got to make sure that we reinstate the not the George Floyd, but the Mr. Lewis Voting Rights Act. He is the one that started initially with the act, and we got to make sure that not only are people have an opportunity to vote, they will know where to vote at. And then finally, I want to talk about women's rights. Women need to be able to have equal rights here in this country. See, unfortunately, now all the women's rights are getting stripped away. Not only can they not make a decision about their own bodies, now they got to get permission to do whatever. And we've got to move away from that. And these women are not second-class citizens. And so that's what's going on in this country. And they're moving everybody back about 50 years. And we've got to make sure our women have equal rights and also equal pay. And then finally, the last thing that I consider probably the most important among all these is accountability in Washington, D.C. Once people start getting put in jail for violations of the crimes and breaking the law, then all of this will change. And then there will be transparency in the government again, and people will be able to trust the government again. If we don't find a way to fix these problems, nobody's going to be able to trust the government. And if we can't trust the government, then I go back to saying, then who can we trust?
Thank you. What will be your priorities if elected?
If I'm elected to office, the first thing I'm gonna do is lower the cost of living. We're gonna get that done. We're not just gonna be lip service to that. And how we're gonna do that, basically, we got to go back into and before this war started, the Strait of Hormuz was open. And so once we open the Strait of Hormuz, the goal is to lower the cost of oil. And oil makes not only just oil for cars, but it's gasoline, it's everything. And so lower the cost of living. And then my second priority, if elected, would be to reinstate the Voting Rights Act, period. We'll find a way to pass laws, whether it be the John Lewis Civil Rights Act or John Lewis Voting Rights Act bill. We will get that passed because we need to make sure that everybody can vote and that everybody's voice is heard, regardless of where you're from. You can be black, white, blue, or green. I don't care what color you are. The goal is to make sure that you have a voice in who would lead you. And that's what we'll be working on. And then finally, there's another thing, like I said, we will look directly at accountability. And I know everybody on here, every candidate is probably going to say this. They're going to say, well, we want to impeach this current administration. Okay, well, you impeach them. Are you going to be able to get them out of there? We need to not only be able to impeach them, but we also need to be able to remove them from office. So in other words, I need your help getting full control of the House, and then we need at least 57 to 60 votes in the Senate in order to remove these people from this government. And then the fourth thing that I'll work on is we need universal health care. This people should not have to lose their homes and lose their livelihood just because they got sick. I don't think health care should be attached to jobs. We have 40 industrialized countries in this world, and 37 of them have already accomplished this test of universal health care. Why can't the United States be 38? We claim to be the richest country in the world. And if we are the richest country in the world, then this should be no problem. I know every year we pay enough in taxes, Medicare taxes, whatever kind of taxes they put on our check stub, we pay enough where we can already afford this. This will not increase the national deficit. This instead will provide the assurance that if you are American, you will be taken care of. And I thought the whole agenda was about America first. So if it's about America first, then we are going to take care of our people right here in this country.
Thank you. You have a little bit more time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners?
Yes, I do. I want to share this with our listeners. When you're selecting a candidate, look and make sure that that candidate has character, has morals, is going to go to Washington, D.C. and actually stand up for you. You need a fighter in Washington, D.C. And I, myself, Dr. Mackins, I have been a fighter. I've been in wartime situations. I have made the sacrifices. And all my life, I have been a servant leader. whether it be in education, the local community, serving our country, I've always stood for the people. And no matter how difficult it gets, I will never stop fighting for you. So what I'm asking you to do is go to my website, MackinsForUSHouse.com, MackinsForUSHouse.com. Go to that website. Help me out. Donate to my campaign. This is going to be a grassroots movement. Donate to my campaign, volunteer to help me out, and then tell 5 or 10 people about me. That's how we're going to win this election. We're not going to win it because we know all these people are the good old boy system. We're going to win this election because we have to pull together in unity in order to move not only South Carolina forward, but to move this country forward. So thank you for asking me that, because that's what we got to do.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the candidates. Here is more detail on our process. All candidates received the same 3 questions at the time of their invitation to join us shortly after the filing period closed, and they were given 10 timed minutes for their interview. Candidates were allowed to bring along a companion, such as a campaign manager, family member, or friend, and to record our session themselves. There were no edits made to the interviews. We've put links to the participating candidates' preferred internet presence on the episode page.
Hi, Simple Civics Greenville County listeners, Nathaniel here. If you've made it this far, then we think you'll really love our newsletter. Sign up for bonus content, updates, and more right in your inbox. Look for the link in the description that says newsletter to sign up, or visit us at simpleCivicsGreenvilleCounty.org. Find the link in the menu that says newsletter and sign up there. We'll see you again next week.